freedom has never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp.
America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves.
We've got to do a better job of getting across that America is freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of enterprise, and freedom is special and rare.
A republic, if you can keep it. And here's Liberty Storm with Shane Crouser.
The truth in the trenches.
You know, it's Samuel Adams who once said, if we suffer tamelessly a lawless attack upon our liberty, we encourage it and involve others in our doom. Are you concerned as Americans about where we are headed? Are you concerned about leadership? Are you simply concerned about America? America, the idea. Well, tonight we're on top of this and more. You don't want to miss this show. Good evening, America. I'm Shane Crouser. You're listening to Liberty Storm, and we are 960 The Patriot. Tonight, America comes alive. We've got some great guests here that are going to be joining me over the next 2 hours. Great conversation. Of course, it's always a great day in the USA, and of course, it's going to be a great night together. We have Wendy Rogers joining us first to talk about her run for U.S. Congress against Kyrsten Sinema of Congressional District 9 right here in Arizona. And speaking of leadership, you know, it really goes without saying, we continue to hope that the right people will come along and help us derail this unconstitutional runaway train. We've been talking about this for 5 years, and we've made some progress. But we've got to continue to move forward, but not just move forward. We've got to move forward more aggressively. We all know that government at all levels is too big, too bloated, and simply oversized. Everyone within the sound of my voice knows that we need new leadership. How is it that 535 people in Washington, D.C. cannot be controlled by 320 million people? It simply makes no sense, people. We must wake up, unite, link arms together, and make real change happen. We need leadership that understands the limits of their authority, what they will do. We need to understand what it is they will do to protect the liberties of the people once they get there, and understand how to protect our national security interest. And, of course, we know, as I've already suggested, government is simply too big. What will they do to minimize government once they get there? Well, what are your thoughts about this? The phone lines are going to be open as we've got Wendy Rogers here at 602-508-0960. That's 602-508-0960. What are your thoughts about this? Of course, I mentioned Wendy Rogers is running for Congressional District 9. This is going to be a hotly contested race, simply by virtue of the individual that's there now, the incumbent Kyrsten Sinema, who is a Democrat who won this last go-around. She is a first-term congresswoman. Wendy Rogers wants to be a part of the answer in America. I've known Wendy about going on 2 years now, and I know that she is passionate about America. I know she's passionate about the solutions that she can bring to the table, and she is ready to take on the powers that be and return our country back to this great nation. And we're going to talk about what her solutions are. Wendy, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
It's an honor to be with you.
Absolutely. You're a wife, you're a mother, a retired Air Force lieutenant colonel, and a business owner.
And a grandmother.
And a grandmother. Congratulations. Congratulations. You know, I have to say, being a wife and a mother is something that, of course, is respectable. As I look at your resume, in addition to that, lieutenant colonel, in other words, you're not just a nobody. You were someone who worked very hard in the military, worked your way up. You were respected by those around you, and you were ultimately given or taken upon yourself by virtue of your work, lieutenant colonel. What is it that you hope to transcend from your experience or really transform from being in the military and being that lieutenant colonel to now running for Congress?
Shane, I think it's about service. I think that the notion of service in one's elected officials has been lost. And service is in my DNA. I am a fifth-generation career military officer all the way back to the Civil War. I promised my father the day he passed away in Williamsburg, Virginia, a year ago, February, that I would honor him, honor our family legacy in my quest to serve my country again. And I've, knocked on 13,000 doors riding my bike. I make 30 phone calls a day now, running all over the state, all over the country. And every time I talk to somebody, this whole notion of service comes back. And people don't feel that Congress is serving their needs. They feel that their voices are not being heard. And so I listen a lot. I'm running because I also own a business. I have a hard time making payroll. There is too much regulation, too much taxation in the way of those of us who create jobs as small business owners who arguably create 70% of jobs in the United States. And then just August 2nd, our second grandchild was born. And it occurred to me that he has debt on his little head of probably now $30,000 per infant who is born. That's not right. I have to pay my bills. We have to make it work. Government should have to make it work. Government should be accountable to the people. That's why I'm running.
And the numbers are significantly high when you talk about debt. I remember being a college student, newly married, no kids. And I remember people talking about it's about the future. And I would think, quit putting your kids on the front line of this. Well, now as a father, 6 kids, this battle for America has now become personal. Because when you talk about debt upon every head of American, you're right, it's very high. It's probably around $54,000 per individual in this country, which even by UN standards amounts to a poverty-stricken people. Even by their standards, we've got issues. What is it that you will do if you were elected once you got back to D.C. to start correcting some of these problems?
First of all, there are alternatives. For example, everyone says Republicans are the party of no. There are alternatives. There are alternatives to Obamacare. Just today I was doing some research in this. BusinessInsider.com back in 2009 came up with alternatives to Obamacare. More walk-in clinics, more jobs for the less experienced, no tax break for employers, high deductible accounts and health savings accounts. Expand the S-chip program, offer incentives to healthy people like you and me. I run 2 miles a day. No corn syrup subsidies. Have a market for organ transplants. New healthcare internet technology. Limits on lawsuits. These are fundamental, hard nugget solutions that are, for example, there to replace Obamacare. So there are things that can be done to someone who has a small business mindset, who has to balance the books. I have to sign the front of a paycheck, not the back of a paycheck. I know what it's like to have to meet a budget. There are precious few people who go to Congress these days who know how to meet a budget, let alone who've deployed in service to their country. I was deployed for 6 months. I know what it's like to leave small children at home and to have to deal with that. So I want to bring that experience and that common sense to Congress.
As someone who has extensive military experience, are you concerned about the way that our military is being run today? Are you concerned about national security interests that we're dealing with today? Are there things that you would propose that they be done differently? Are there things, again, many questions in one, but in essence, what would you do if you are in fact concerned about how this president is leading this military with certain powers that you will have as a member of Congress to keep this sort of thing in check, to make sure that we're wise in our execution, and that we ensure that America stays safe?
I took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I spent half of my 20 years nearly overseas. And I can tell you that there is a difference serving under a president who is resolute and under a president who isn't. It trickles all the way down. And it can be felt flying missions. My last mission was into Ukraine. We were under a Democrat president at the time, and we couldn't get a de-icing truck to save our lives. We had to get out and take the plastic credit cards from our wallets and shave off the frost from the wings so that we could take off. Because there was no respect from our president, and it trickled all the way down, even though we had clearances pre-planned weeks in advance. So my point in bringing that up is you cannot lead from behind. You have to show, as a president and as an administration, a resolute steadfastness in defending American exceptionalism wherever you do project troops, first of all. And then, most overarchingly, there has to be a strategic reason why you are committing those troops. And then when they're committed, they have to be allowed to complete the job.
Right, and I think that's part of the concern is you have a president, I mean, whether there's a D or an R behind that person's name, that executes initially but doesn't follow through. And I think that's where so many Americans are disturbed. We see our soldiers in a country relatively small, after 10, 12 years, complete the job. If we have a mission, go in and complete the job and then bring them back home. Because you're right, you're talking about families, you're talking about real human beings with real emotions, with real lives who are experiencing real consequences. And that's certainly disturbing, I think, across the board. And when we come back, I'd love to talk to you about what does your platform look like? How do we make government smaller? Education, Social Security, immigration. We'll get into many of these issues. And I would even like to ask you about American exceptionalism, because you mentioned that, and I think that's so important that we're electing people that understand what it means to be exceptional as a country and not simply go there and wield their power and simply follow what it is that a small group of people would like them to do. What does it mean to truly be exceptional as a country? I'm joined by Wendy Rogers, congressional candidate for District 9 here in Arizona. We come back, we'll talk a little bit more with her and about her plans to help change America. You're listening to Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on 960 The Patriot. We'll be right back.
Overall unemployment dropped, but some are skeptical.
The unemployment rate came down, but not for all the right reasons. A bit of smoke and mirrors in it.
And the number of jobs created fell short.
We know what the solutions are, and that is to pick up the pace of growth.
And how do slow jobs affect your retirement account?
What it does is put the stock market into a bit of a conundrum.
We're watching the economy because it's your money. Intelligent Talk 960. The Patriot.
In today's tough economic climate, it's no surprise that many realtors are dropping out of the business, but not Kim Bongiorno. She is available after 5 p.m. and weekends for your real estate needs. This is Shane Krauser. Experience and integrity in real estate matters. And when you're looking for a competent realtor, I highly recommend Kim Bongiorno, owner and broker of Buyers Information Service. For 31 years, Kim Bongiorno has been guiding her clients through the complicated real estate process. Whether you're looking to lease your home, sell your home, rent a home, or purchase a new home, Kim's extensive market insight and strong knowledge of financing delivers results. And Kim is also well-versed in short sale, REO, and bank-owned homes. When you work with Kim Bongiorno, you actually work with Kim one-on-one, and her customers receive most of their closing costs paid, a 1-year home warranty, and reimbursement for their home inspection. Call Kim Bongiorno with Buyers Information Service, 480-488-8840. That's 480-488-8840, or go online to kissthelandlordgoodbye.com. When you are faced with legal challenges, you want competent, aggressive representation. You want attorneys who understand the system and will advocate for you. Hi, this is Shane Krauser, partner with the law firm of Davis, Miles, McGuire, Gardner. With over 60 highly skilled attorneys and litigators, Davis Miles provides a broad spectrum of legal services. Whether you've been charged with a crime, are filing bankruptcy, involved in a divorce, injured in an accident, or need assistance with estate planning, we have attorneys who specialize in these areas and many others. We are here to assist you through what can be a very uncertain time or through a time where you're looking to secure your future. Our clients include individuals, growing businesses, and Fortune 500 companies, and our attorneys have decades of combined experience in fighting for and defending their clients. At Davis Miles, you and your concerns always come first. Give us a call at 480-344-4999. That's 480-344-4999. Smart, competent, effective representation. Again, that's 480-344-4999.
In times of joy, in moments of grief, we are there. When the world looks for truth, broadcasters come through, even when all else fails. Today, with more ways than ever to experience the moments that transform our lives, Americans still choose broadcast radio and television more than all other media combined. And our web and social sites are among the most visited sites in our daily lives.
Once I bring you the video, do not go outdoors here in Ocean City right now.
When important moments happen, both big and small, we're the first informers to history. We are the local broadcasters of radio and television, reaching more people, touching more lives. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
If you're looking for the latest videos, audio, and articles from the top political minds from around the country, like Jonah Goldberg, Thomas Sowell, Michelle Malkin, and many more, then The Patriot has you covered. Just log on to 960thepatriot.com today. Looking to see what's up next on The Hugh Hewitt Show? Like 960 The Patriot on Facebook for daily show updates. Where the Constitution lives. 960 The Patriot.
Oh, it's a great day. It is a great day in the USA. Of course, I've got Wendy Rogers here. She is running for U.S. Congressional District 9 right here in Arizona against the incumbent Kirsten Sinema. Before we go back to Wendy, want to let you know it's contest time.
It is.
It's contest time.
Let's do this.
We're doing it for straight from our sponsors, right?
Exactly.
Master Creations Coin and Jewelry. Of course, this segment of the program is brought to you by our friends at Master Creations Coin and Jewelry. Precious metals dealers everywhere. You've got to check out our friends there in Ahwatukee on 32nd Street and Chandler Boulevard. They're right there on the southwest corner. And I tell you, these people are great patriots. David and Carol White I met about 2 years ago, and they are just great individuals who care about America, who love America, and are taking advantage and taking the opportunity to be a part of the American dream. And whether you're an investor buying or selling precious metals, or you're an avid coin collector, Master Creations Coin and Jewelry is your Arizona source for buying, selling, and trading gold, silver, and rare collectible coins. Check them out. It doesn't matter if you are a gold or a silver bullion investor. Master Creations can work with you on any size order. If it's not in stock, he'll place a custom order for you. Again, check them out at mastercreationsjewelry.com. That's mastercreationsjewelry.com. And, of course, Happy Chappie.
Yes, sir.
In the house. Let's talk. What are we doing? Third caller?
Let's do this. Okay, what we're going to do is a third caller. And if you guys were paying attention to Shane Krauser's opening monologue, you're going to have this answer, okay?
I'm going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm going to be disappointed.
He gave it away. So here it is. Okay, third caller needs to call us and tell us how many members of the House and Senate combined. So how many are there? House and Senate combined.
House of Representatives and the Senate.
Combined.
What is that combined number?
Yep.
You're going to call 602-508-0960. That's 602-508-0960, and we're going to send you, courtesy of Master Creations Coin and Jewelry, an American Eagle 1-ounce coin. We'll see who gets this. I hope they're listening. I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah,
I want to be disappointed.
As you should be.
Yes. All right, back to Wendy Rogers, again running for Congressional District 9 against Kirsten Sinema. She is a wife, mother, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, and in fact, she was one of the first pilots, Air Force pilots, of the female gender. I think that's quite commendable. How did that happen?
In what way?
I mean, where they say we've got affirmative action quotas we've got to meet, or they say, you know what, you've done what needs to be done. You've gone through the education. You've done what it is that we require. I'm just curious what that looked like.
Well, the military opened flying up to women in, I believe, 1976. And I went to pilot training in 1980 here in Arizona at Williams Air Force Base, which is now Mesa Gateway Airport, of course. And I applied. There was a board every 6 months. One had to have very good ratings in one's prior specialty. And I'm probably the only United States Air Force pilot who began her career as a psychiatric social worker.
Is this true?
True
Wow.
as can be.
Wow.
I was a clinical psychiatric social worker in the mental health clinic in the Air Force for 3 years before I went to pilot training. So the joke used to be, yeah, we need a lot of that in the cockpit. And when I graduated a year later in 1981, the only cockpits that were open to women at the time were transports or trainers or tankers, the ones you see out at Sky Harbor, for example. And I got a C-141 jet transport and was stationed in Southern California for 5 years and flew all over the world, mostly the South Pacific and Far East Asia.
Now, as you seek to run for Congress, when did you leave the Air Force?
I retired in 1996.
Okay, so here we are 15, 14 years later. My math is right. 1996.
Yes, 17.
17 years later. The mathematician
it creeps
going
up
at
on
it.
you.
Yes. 17 years later, looking to go back to Washington, D.C., do you see this country as experiencing a constitutional crisis?
I do.
How so?
I see a president who tramples on the Constitution. Just last night, reading a Peggy Noonan article in the Wall Street Journal really crystallized it for me. English kings, she says, used to suspend laws, but the framers rejected that practice. And as you know, Article 2 says, the president shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. By deciding just on his own that the employer mandate in the Affordable Care Act, as we affectionately know it as Obamacare, just can be delayed a year, how does he get away with that?
Yeah. How is it, what is it that you will do if you were to go back there? Because my perception is that you have a lot of individuals that are in Congress who are very disturbed by what the executive is doing, what the president is doing, and rightfully so. He issues executive orders. He's approaching 200 in number. He essentially legislates simply by way of the stroke of the pen. And we know that the legislative branch has a monopoly, virtually a monopoly on the creation of laws. And yet we have a president that does it, what it seems like, day in and day out. We're going to delay Obamacare. If you're going to delay something like that, that's a legislative decision that has to be made. And I think we've got to have voices that are standing up and saying enough is enough. What would you do to go back and really unite other congressmen, but also make it clear this is my barometer for acting, the Constitution of the United States. I'm not concerned about taking care of people. I'm not concerned about sitting in a government position and acting as a charity. I'm concerned about operating within the parameters of the United States Constitution. And if it doesn't allow me to do it, I'm not going to do it, plain and simple. What would it be that you would bring to the table that would really move this in the right direction?
I bring leadership to the table. Those of you in the listening audience who know me know I'm no shrinking violet. You have to lead. You can't always give the answer that everyone wants to hear because it's popular. I'm not paid to be popular. I'm paid to lead. I'm paid to have a backbone. I am paid to call it as I see it. And when I'm elected, I might not give the answer that everybody wants to hear all the time, but it will be the truth, and it will be what I've resolved to try to do to hold the Constitution intact. If we lose the Senate again, and we lose the House of Representatives, there's no stopping the president. We have to hold the House of Representatives and try to turn the Senate. And that is doable right now as the landscape looks. One voice out of 5... I can't say the answer because that's the answer to the trick.
We already have a winner. We already have a winner.
Okay, sorry. One voice out of the 535 is one voice more than what we have right now, because who is sitting in the seat right now is someone who purports to support everything that the president supports. And you have to respect the office of the presidency, but that does not mean you allow the Constitution to be trampled, or you don't unite in leadership. We need more leaders in Congress.
When we come back, I want to ask you about some of these scandals that have taken place. IRS, James Rosen, AP, IRS, you name it, we've experienced it. When we come back, more of Wendy Rogers on Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on 960 The Patriot. We'll see you on the other side. This is Shane Krauser, the Chief Instructor of K-Force Vanguard, a firearms training academy in the Phoenix area. Visit us at kforcevanguard.com or call us at 480-516-7793 for all of your firearms training. All of our instructors are active duty police officers and detectives, U.S. military personnel, defense attorneys, and former prosecutors. We bring real-world reality to all of our training that you will not experience anywhere else. Indeed, we live what we teach, from the battlefield to the streets to the courtrooms. Whether you're looking to obtain your concealed carry permit, become more proficient with your weapon of choice, simulated confrontation, or take up advanced tactical training, you've come to the right place. We have trained individuals who have never fired a gun, children, expert marksmen, law enforcement, and active military. Come train with instructors who live what they teach. Give us a call at 480-516-7793 or visit us at kforcevanguard.com. That's kforcevanguard.com.
Hello, my name is Bill Bish. I'm the project director for Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser. I want to tell you about a book that has absolutely changed my life and the lives of many people I know. It was just released, and you need to get your hands on it today. It's called Your Nation to Save, and it's a line-by-line explanation of the U.S. Constitution, written in plain English that anyone can understand. And it is arguably the most important book of this century. Go to aafce.com and check it out right away. By reading this book, you'll understand the Constitution in ways that most Americans and politicians fail to understand. This book's author, Shane Krauser, is an adjunct professor of constitutional law and an attorney in Arizona. As Shane so often says, the Constitution is not the problem, it is emphatically the answer. This exciting and informative book is only $15 plus shipping and handling. Your Nation to Save can be yours now by going to aafce.com. That's AAF as in freedom, CE.com.
I'm Matt Liddycoat, Senior Loan Officer with the Liddycoat team in Nova Home Loans. Educating consumers on the subject of finance has been a passion of mine for the past 16 years. That's why I partnered with Jake Cagle, Managing Partner, and Ron Wilson, Vice President of Nova Financial Services, to create Your Financial Future on Nova Radio. Your Financial Future is a weekly show focused on educating and improving our listeners' financial knowledge. Every Sunday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on The Patriot. We discuss the current equity markets, mortgage markets, the economy, and strategies to build and protect your wealth. Your Financial Future is a fast-paced live show. We want to hear from you. So contact us during the show at 855-478-9700. That's 855-478-9700. On Sunday, August the 18th, we go live on 960 The Patriot from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. That's Sunday, August the 18th from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 960 The Patriot. Your Financial Future on Nova Radio, focused on building and protecting your wealth. BK 0902429, NMLS 179762.
More than 100 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
If you're looking for the latest videos, audio, and articles from the top political minds from around the country, like Jonah Goldberg, Thomas Sowell, Michelle Malkin, and many more, then The Patriot has you covered. Just log on to 960thepatriot.com today. Become a fan of 960 The Patriot on Facebook or follow us on Twitter today. Just go to 960thepatriot.com for more information. The Patriot.
97-year-old
the mics are live, I am told, and I just want to know if she's for real. Ashley, the board operator back there, taking phone calls. Maybe I missed the job description. She's now writing down questions instead of putting them on the line with us. It's just a shame. Wow. And you've got to call back in. We want you to talk with Wendy Rogers. All right, here we go. I'm just very disappointed with you, Ashley. All right, here we go. We've got Wendy Rogers in studio with us. She is a candidate for CD9 right here in Arizona. She's going to be running against the incumbent Kyrsten Sinema. She's a wife, mother, retired Air Force lieutenant colonel, a pilot, and a business owner. And she ran for this same office 2 years ago.
1 year ago.
One year ago.
Yeah, right after redistricting.
And so we're going to get to that in just a moment. But I want to ask you, because I think this is such an important concept to embrace, and that your constituents need to understand that you embrace this. When you talk about American exceptionalism, what is that to you?
American exceptionalism is suborning oneself to the greater good. It is being unafraid to do what's right for the sake of doing what's right. It means helping others because it's the right thing to do, not in conquest or to vanquish another. And when American troops go to a country that's a war zone, what do? They give chiclets to children. I mean, I know that seems like a trite example, but it's an image. What did we do in the Berlin airlift? We dropped food to refugees, but what else did we do? We also dropped, there was a man named the Candy Bomber, and he dropped little parachutes of candy to kids who were behind the Iron Curtain. And when I was in Germany for so many years, and we went to the Berlin airlift celebration every year, that symbol, that image was talked about. The Candy Bomber, he came every year, and he was feted as the big hero. And I bring you that example because, to me, that shows the selfless spirit of the American. And domestically, what I see as American exceptionalism is the business owner who does everything he or she can because the employee works hard, and the employee works for that business to make it go, not because the government is giving him or her a handout, not because he feels entitled, but because it's the right thing to do and he wants to help. And we've lost some of that. I talked to a farm family in Hereford, right on the border. I just did this yesterday, and the farm wife told me that she had a steady stream of employee candidates, and very few of them could qualify because none of them had fire in the belly to want to work hard and help this farm. We've lost something like that. It's easier, she said, for that person to draw unemployment. So there was no real desire to work hard and advance oneself. If we take the government out of the equation where people want to work again, I think we can save this country.
Absolutely. I think there is some despair. There's actually a lot of despair. But I believe that America's best days are yet to come, so long as the grassroots and even the establishment will continue to rally behind individuals that truly understand why America is exceptional, what it means to be founded upon a creed, and the idea that we have unalienable rights that come from our Creator, and that this idea of equal protection under the law is not just a cute soundbite, but it's something that men and women have given the ultimate sacrifice to preserve and defend. And the list goes on and on. We are innovative, the free market system. We have a constitution that separates power and divides authority. And it does it very well, at least historically it has. But I think I agree with you. We are experiencing a constitutional crisis today. You ran for office against Kyrsten Sinema.
No, I ran, I would have liked to have.
Well, you ran in the primaries.
Yes, I ran in a 7-person Republican primary last August and came in second by 705 votes among 7 Republicans. It was a whisker-close photo finish. I stayed on, of course, to help the victor, and then he did not prevail against Kyrsten Sinema. It's a toss-up district. It's a third Republican, a third Independent, and a third Democrat. It's absolutely winnable. 7% voted for the third-party candidate. We don't anticipate that occurring again, and I will prevail.
Very good. When we come back, more of Wendy Rogers, candidate for Congressional District 9 against Kyrsten Sinema, and we'll get to your phone calls as well, and even talk about some of the scandals. We'll be right back. You're listening to Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on 960 The Patriot.
Hi, I'm Mark Walters, host of Armed American Radio. As freedom-loving Americans, I don't have to remind you that our Second Amendment rights are under withering attack. With the help of the mainstream media, the Obama administration is demonizing you. For the truth about your right to keep and bear arms, make sure to tune in to me, Mark Walters, on Armed American Radio, heard right here every week.
Armed American Radio, every Sunday from 10 to midnight, on your home for intelligent talk, 960 The Patriot.
This is Shane Krauser, the director of the American Academy for Constitutional Education, with your Unconstitutional Minute. Say what you will, but Edward Snowden is a hero for disclosing to the American people that the government was accessing phone records that it had no right to. Sometimes civil disobedience is the only tool left remaining in the shed. And how would our founding fathers have dealt with Snowden's disclosure? John Adams would have defended Snowden. Thomas Jefferson would have pushed for revolution in the midst of such tyranny. James Madison would have clarified the Constitution so politicians of our day could understand it. And George Washington would have issued a pardon had he been convicted. Why? Because the disregard of the Constitution comes in many forms, and tyranny can only be tolerated for so long. We just may have experienced history that generations to come will revere. Time will only tell. For now, Snowden has made it clear that tyranny is rampant. For more talk on the issues that matter, tune into Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on Saturday evenings at 5 or go to libertystormradio.com.
Hi, folks. This is Alan Thicke. I was the dad on a show called Growing Pains, and like all TV dads, I had to teach the kids about handling money. So here goes. If you were ever to find yourself owing the IRS $10,000 or more, you could be looking at wage garnishments, liens, bank levies. You might even lose your home or business. Not good. That's why I'd tell you to call the people at Optima Tax Relief, because there's a new tax debt forgiveness program just announced by the IRS called the Fresh Start Initiative. By calling Optima, you can jump on one of the biggest breaks the IRS has offered in ages. It's huge. You could qualify for a settlement that's 75% lower than before these changes. They're A-rated by the Better Business Bureau, and they even offer a money-back guarantee. Trust me, kids, you can trust these guys.
Call 800-711-5743. That's 800-711-5743. 800-711-5743. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. It's like tiny nails in the air poke my lungs. I start to cough. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital.
Today, 1 out of 13 children suffer from some form of asthma, accounting for nearly 1/3 of all emergency room visits.
I feel like I'm choking. It's kind of like an elephant is on my chest. A little whistle sound comes out when I breathe.
But while your child may suffer from asthma, asthma doesn't have to make your child suffer. There are simple ways you can prevent your child's next attack. To learn more, call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. That's 1-866-662-8822. Log on to www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many.
I feel like a fish with no water.
Brought to you by the EPA, the Ad Council, and this station.
If you're looking for the latest videos, audio, and articles from the top political minds from around the country, like Jonah Goldberg, Thomas Sowell, Michelle Malkin, and many more, then The Patriot has you covered. Just log on to 960thepatriot.com today. The cement of this union is the heart blood of every American. 960, The Patriot. 960, The Patriot.
We're calling America. Help ease the pain.
You guys almost interrupted Alex Boyer. Alex Boyer is the man calling America. You know, it was America. What was America like yesterday? A long time ago. America yesterday was give me liberty. Today, America today, just give me. Is this true? And I think, Wendy, you've been talking about exactly that. We've got to turn this thing around and start focusing on what it truly means to be free as a society. Of course, Wendy Rogers is joining me here in studio. She's a wife, mother, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, pilot, and a business owner. She's running for Congressional District 9 right here in Arizona against the incumbent, Kirsten Sinema. I want to go right to some of our phone calls. Ann, you're next up on Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser. You have a question for Wendy.
Yes, I do, Shane. Thank you.
You got it.
I'm terrified of in the NSA and the IRS. And with Obamacare, that 61-page questionnaire being managed by navigators who don't even have to be fingerprinted, it just terrifies me. And I understand with the Obamacare that they're laying off teachers at ASU and Mesa Community College. Wendy, what is your position on Obamacare?
We need to do everything we can to thwart the move forward of Obamacare. It's taking over a sixth of our gross domestic product, so it's not really about health care. It's about a takeover of a sixth of our economy. And calling to defund it is a noble endeavor.
So you would vote to defund Obamacare?
Absolutely.
Would you vote in the same vein to shut down the federal government?
If that's what it took, we have to be brave enough to say the hard thing. And a lot of that is bluster and positioning when we say we're going to shut down the government. I can't tell you how many times in the military when they said something was not going to be funded at the 11th hour, and we still somehow made it work. A lot of this is political posturing. My point, though, is that Obamacare is a very dangerous train wreck that is about to happen. And what I think the caller was referring to with ASU is you have the current congresswoman who she herself is a professor at ASU still, even though she's in Congress apparently. Yet her compatriots over there are being cut back and let go because ASU, of all institutions, also is hampered by Obamacare. So if you have an employee who has more than so many hours a week of work, then you have to provide Obamacare. So all these people are being let go, and this is emblematic of so many businesses, too. They're only having part-time employees because of they only want 29-hour-a-week employees because they don't want to provide Obamacare. That, I just talked to a man 2 hours ago who owns 8 McDonald's on the eastern side of Arizona. And he said it's very difficult for him and his other fast food franchisee owners in the area to try to juggle to see how they're going to handle their business. You can't make decisions when the government is telling you that you have to provide care, and then you now are going to go to part-time workers as a workaround. That's not a way to run a business.
Wendy, we have listeners all across the country that tune in to listen to our show from California to New York City. And I think one of the reasons why we have that listenership is because people are intrigued by what's going on in Arizona. We tend to lead in so many areas in fighting for good causes, and the fights seem to take place here for some reason. There are many people out there who want to know, who perhaps have never heard of you outside of Arizona, and are wondering who you really are. If you had to align yourself with a particular individual in Congress, the House of Representatives or the Senate, like a Rand Paul or a Mike Lee or a Marco Rubio or a Ted Cruz, who would that person be? I know you're Wendy Rogers, but in terms of your philosophy, in terms of how government should be run, who would you align yourself most closely with?
You've probably never heard of him.
Let's hear it.
He's only 31 years old. He's been very good to me. Mm-hmm. He is United States Congressman Adam Kinzinger from Illinois. He's an Air Force pilot. He, K-I-N-Z, as in Zulu, I-N-G-E-R, Adam Kinzinger. He has mentored me. I mean, he's young enough to be my son. But what's really great about Adam Kinzinger is he fought, he flew, he came home, he ran for Congress. He still flies. He came into a district just like mine that was redistricted. He had a Democrat opponent who outspent him by $1 million. And he still won that seat because of his message. And his message was smaller government, less taxation, stronger defense, and American exceptionalism. And I just saw him. I was in Washington. Our daughter came with me 4 weeks ago. And I said, talk to me and tell me how it's going. And he said, we need immigration reform. We're going to do it piece by piece. We're not going to have some one-size-fits-all. We're going to do it right. But we're going to make sure we secure the border. And we talked a long time. And he had an event for me of other business interests who are aligned with my smaller government outlook. And so people ask me that here in Arizona, what kind of Republican are you? I'm a Wendy Rogers Republican. I'm a kitchen table Republican. I have to balance a budget. We have rules on the wall of our kitchen in Tempe that are Mom's rules. Those are unassailable rules. You will be personally responsible. You will not make excuses for your behavior. You will follow through on what you say you're going to do, and you'll be accountable. And that's the kind of cohesion we need among ourselves as Republicans. There would be nothing that would suit Democrats more than to see this continuing divisiveness among Republicans. I want everybody's help, and it's going to be where I need everybody's help to win this race and to defeat the Democrat.
Where can they find out more about your campaign?
My website is very straightforward. It's my name, Wendy Rogers, no D in Rogers for Democrat. So it's Wendy like the hamburgers, Rogers like Roy Rogers, ROGERS.org.
WendyRogers.org. That's WendyRogers.org. You brought up something that I think needs to be addressed, and that's Kyrsten Sinema. At least the incoming reports are that she's raised more money than even Nancy Pelosi. A lot of money that she's bringing here to the table to try and make sure she keeps that office. What will you do about that? Is it just a battle of ideas, or do you see yourself as having to raise exorbitant amounts of money to even compete with her? What's your outlook on that?
Well, right now we've already raised well over $250,000 from small donors. I make 30 phone calls a day. I'm relentless. I'm shameless. Please write a check. But anyway, I make these calls, and as I mentioned, Adam Kinzinger, who was outspent by $1 million, that's an instructive lesson. Kyrsten Sinema can be out of her office, not legislating, but fundraising, which is what that requires. You can't be on Capitol Hill and do that, so you have to go somewhere else and do it. So she's off doing that, obviously, and that's her prerogative. But that's not going to win the day, because what is going to win the day is American exceptionalism. And what's going to win the day are the grassroots who say, I want someone to represent me who really does speak for me and does not speak for all these special interests. And this district is a moderate, slightly Republican, R+1, so to speak, district. This current representative we have does not really represent that constituency. And so this is important for me to get that message out of who we are and who we represent as the voice of small business, the voice of strong national defense, and the voice of families. Do families feel safe? I don't think families feel safe with their children in school right now. They don't feel safe in terms of the border. They don't feel safe in terms of being able to make decisions as business employees or employers. They don't feel safe. There's a lot of uncertainty in our country.
What are your thoughts about some of these scandals that are broken? NSA, James Rosen, AP, IRS, Benghazi, any one of those. What is your perception about what it is that federal government is doing in relationship to these scandals.
The federal government has run amok. And when we talk about the federal government, we tend to talk about it as this singular entity that's somehow got this singular brain, and it's not. It's all these disparate agencies that don't really talk to one another. And so you have this behemoth, I call it, that just kind of builds with inertia into this monstrous glop that just sucks up everything as it goes along. And that erodes personal freedom.
And
completely.
And it evolves into these scandals. When you have individuals who lack integrity, who don't understand the parameters of their authority, it is no wonder why we have these scandals breaking.
And
if you're not loyal to the ultimate oath, why would you be loyal to any of these other things surrounding any of these circumstances that led to these scandals? Why would you? Why would we expect anything different?
And then what that does is that leads to the mindset of every man for himself. And then we get away from American exceptionalism, which, as I mentioned, is where you're doing something because it's right. Now you have more of a mindset of you're doing something just to protect yourself and your little fiefdom. And there's an illness with that. That's not who we are. That's not who I am. That's not the America that I was brought up in, where I, as a little kid, would be an entrepreneur and sell things door to door. Now you're afraid, a parent is afraid to have his child go door to door, or you're afraid to have your kids play outside. I played outside as a child all the time, and now parents are afraid to do that. They want to drive their child to school. They want to drive their child to a play date. We've lost our neighborhoods. We've lost so much of what I grew up as knowing to be natural.
How do we clean up some of the problems in the Republican Party? I think it's very clear. Any outsider looking in sees a disconnect within the party. There's division within the party. You have so many factions, so it seems, and there's some infighting going on. How do we clean that problem up from your perspective?
You have to have leadership, and that harkens back to what we said before the break. You have to have unapologetic, as one of my volunteers calls it, titanium backbone leadership. And until we get unapologetic and willing to say what's right and not cave to the media and not try to be nice to everybody, we're going to keep apologizing. And we're going to be someone who caves to every time the word racism comes up, or every time there's an excuse that comes up instead of answering the mail. We've got to answer the mail and lay it out and be unapologetic about it. When you have leaders who lead and who are unafraid to say what the truth is, people will follow. People innately sense when they are in the presence of a leader who is not in it to just get reelected, but who is in it to do the right thing.
What is your promise to the American people, specifically your potential constituents, should you win? What is your promise in a nutshell to them?
I'm glad you asked me the word promise, because I promised my country when I took an oath. And I kept that promise. I promised my husband, Hal, who's sitting next to me, 35 years ago when I married him. And I've kept that promise. I've promised my children to raise them right, and we have kept that promise. I promised my dad, the day he died, that I would work as hard as I will ever work to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And my constituents will have that promise kept.
Wendy Rogers, thank you so much. It was an absolute honor and privilege to have you here. You can find out more about Wendy Rogers at wendyrogers.org. That's wendyrogers.org. Wendy, thank you so much for being here.
I salute you.
Thank you. We'll be right back, folks. Hour 2, you don't want to miss this. We have got some individuals from the grassroots, and I even want to talk about some comical things, but also about what we must do to change this problem, to fix this problem. Where should we be focusing? I'm going to address that in hour 2 as well. We'll be right back.
This was a paid program and was provided for informational purposes only.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool.
For a new high-quality train system that you can afford. 602-840-9229 or visit us on the web at benefitair.com. Experience the benefit of using Benefit Air.
This is a paid program and is provided for informational purposes only.
Freedom has never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp.
America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves.
We've got to do a better job of getting across that America is freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of enterprise, and freedom is special and rare.
A republic, if you can keep it. And here's Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser.
The truth in the trenches.
Is there any other place you'd rather be?
Not at all.
Phoenix, Arizona, as hot as can be. Sitting up, looking over Phoenix, the skyline here.
There's no better place to be right now.
It's a great day in the USA.
Always.
And I've got a couple co-hosts in here who just loving being Americans is what I take it. I got Bill Bish and I got Jeff Chapman, also known as Happy Chappy.
That's right.
Is it a great day in the USA?
It's always a great day.
All right, I just want to be sure. But it was Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry once said, "I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience." And I think what a shame that we've tossed aside that very lamp that should be guiding us and forgotten the lessons that history has taught us. It's an absolute shame. You see the ideas. We often hear this argument that the Constitution's outdated, when the reality is that these ideas that are being pushed upon the American people at all levels of government are in fact the outdated ideas. History has already taught us that most of these ideas will not work. And we're defying the very idea that was articulated so very well by Patrick Henry. We guide ourselves as a country by the lamp of experience. And when those founders risked everything, they were codifying how it is that you maximize freedom and limit tyranny within a society, and we're rejecting that as a culture. We're rejecting it outright. And later on in the show, we're going to talk about how this idea of forgetting history is being resembled in our own culture. We're going to talk a little bit about the Pledge of Allegiance. Folks, you got to stay tuned. This is great stuff. But I also want to talk about this, and I want to get your thoughts as well. What areas of government should we be focusing on? Federal, state, county, local? Should we be focusing on just one, or is it across the board? We're going to hit on that a little bit later on. But, we've been talking for the last several months about the grassroots movement. And I am convinced, and in fact, I'm not just convinced because I want to be convinced, I'm convinced because it is the truth, that any real movement in this country that has brought us closer to freedom, that is, allowing a society to experience more freedom and less government, has happened through the grassroots. You can't name an incident throughout history where the facilitation of more freedom did not begin with just average citizens rising up. In America, you see that over and over and over again. Has government, in fact, done some things to bring us closer to freedom? Absolutely they have. But it's all been facilitated by the grassroots that motivated that change. And I want to talk a little bit about that a little bit later on, because I think what we've got to say is probably going to shock a lot of people, especially if you're an establishment-type person. It may shock what it is that our perspective is, and pretty passionate about this. I want to go right to our next guest. Ross Kessig is a friend of mine who lives in Texas. I met him, about a year ago, about 12 months ago, out there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he has been heavily involved in the grassroots movement. In fact, he just recently took a position with a group called Empower Texans. And this is a true grassroots movement, bringing great individuals together who recognize the problems and are doing what they can to bring that problem to the people and making them aware as to how to rebut or really direct their efforts in the right way to address the problem. Ross Kessig is on the line. Ross, thank you so much for being with me tonight.
Hey, Shane. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How are things out in Texas?
Wonderful. Maybe not as good as they could be on the political scene, but the
Well,
weather, we got some relief on the weather, so I guess that's something to be thankful for.
Yes. Well, I wish we could have some of that relief. We've got cloud cover moving into Phoenix, but we're still over 100 degrees, and we're sitting at 10 after the hour, 6:10, and we're still sitting at over 100. I know you know what that's like because you experience it every now and then. But you're right. We do have problems on the political front, and it's pervasive at all levels of government, from the Pacific to the Atlantic. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing. You've been heavily involved in a number of different things out there in Texas, and you're young. How old are you, Ross?
I'm 29.
29. You went to Arizona State University.
Yeah, I got a degree in economics with emphasis in public policy and constitutional history, and went into a normal career path and then decided that it wasn't really something I was passionate about, and I thought that I would want to pursue maybe a full-time position working for a policy advocacy organization or a political watchdog group like Empower Texans. Empower Texans is a watchdog group that follows state government, and I was recently hired to start a new initiative opening an office in Dallas-Fort Worth focusing on county and local government. So we educate the public about what their public officials are doing. Oftentimes, unfortunately, it's pretty hard for the average person to follow, as you well know.
Ross, I remember having conversations with you until late in the evening. I remember once we were out there and we did some things throughout the day, educating others. And I remember just staying up late in the night and debating, talking, and I know that this is something you're very passionate about. When you talk about Empower Texans, what are some of the primary issues that the entity that you work for is looking at and feels that is so important for the average citizen out there in Texas to be aware of?
Sure. Empower Texans is a nonprofit, nonpartisan educational and advocacy organization, and we focus primarily on fiscal issues and the proper role of government, which I know you're intimately familiar with when you talk about the Constitution and the role of government. And one of the things that's really important is for citizens to put their effort where they can have the most impact, which is at the state and local level. I believe personally that the way to restore our individual rights and to push back against the federal government's usurpation of unconstitutional authority is the state. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. A lot of the founders understood that, and that's why they delegated most of governmental authority to the states and to the people. And so Empower Texans and Texans for Fiscal Responsibility focuses on fiscal issues. Unfortunately, Texas isn't as fiscally conservative or fiscally responsible as what most people think it is. And so we educate the public about that.
Where can you find out more about Empower Texans?
You can go to www.empowertexans.com. One of the things that the organization does every session, we have a biannual legislature, is they publish a scorecard. So they actually rate legislators on key pieces of legislation that relate to the role of government and fiscal issues. And so we show what politicians are doing, what their record shows versus what their rhetoric is. And we have a big problem in Texas with the Republican establishment not only not representing the sentiments of the people, but misrepresenting themselves in terms of their policy prescriptions and their voting record not matching the rhetoric that they give to the voters during campaign season.
Ross, you identify an issue out there, whether it's a fiscal issue or otherwise. What is it that you're doing to truly educate the citizens there in Texas and really mobilize them in the right direction?
Really just sharing information. That's the first step. No, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's really important. You'd probably be surprised if I told you that Texas has the second highest local debt per capita in the country. Wow. We're a heavily indebted state, more than California, more than Illinois. Our state government isn't indebted as much because they have to balance the budget. But we've seen massive local borrowing, second highest debt per person in the country, and most Texans aren't aware of that. And the reason is because local elections don't get very much turnout, and they're not, they're not as appealing to follow. They don't catch as much attention as national headlines. The good side of having low turnout in local elections is that that's where grassroots activists can have the greatest impact in terms of influencing electoral outcomes. The reason why we have bad policy is because we have bad policy makers. So what we need is new people in office. We need principled people, and that's why it's so important to get people at the state and local level. So we're encouraging folks, in addition to sharing information, to make the case to them as why they should care about county and local government.
What would you recommend? I mean, obviously we want to see good people step up, but of course most of our listeners are not going to step up, but they're deeply concerned about America. They want to be involved. What would you tell individuals around the country that they should ultimately do to have an impact on their own cities, their own counties, and their various states?
They just need to show up. 20 or 30 people in a city can change a school board. It can change a city council because no one follows it. And usually those seats don't even have people contesting the incumbent. So if you don't want to run yourself, recruit candidates. Find out what's going on. And we help people, obviously, find out what's going on in their local community. But it's really important, and not just to be good stewards of government, as we should be, as our duty as citizens and the ultimate people responsible for safeguarding our own personal liberties. But most of your squishy legislators in Washington and your unprincipled people in state government, they started off on your city council and your school board or as your mayor, and no one knew who they were. And the problem is, the higher office they reach, the more powerful they become. So what people should think, when they look at their city council person, they should think of the congressman that continually votes against their principles and understand that those are related in a very real way. And so if we can build a farm team of principled people at our local level where we can have the impact, it'll translate into better policy decisions down the road at the state and federal level.
Well, Ross, I want to thank you for all that you do. I think it's absolutely fantastic work that you're doing. And I think something that we often forget as people that are involved in the grassroots is that it's going to be a collaborative effort. We have so much talent where our focus may be slightly different, but our foundation is the same. We recognize that we're focusing on limited government, smaller government, more freedom, and I think it's this multifaceted attack that truly can change America. Thank you for all that you do. Ross Kessick of Empowering Texans out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Thank you, Ross, so much.
Thanks for all you do, Shane.
Thank you. When we come back, you got to stay tuned for this. The Pledge of Allegiance, do you really know it? We're going to talk about that and also talk about what area of government should we be focusing on, national, state, local. We'll be right back.
Mike Gallagher says the establishment Republicans are hurting the party.
The establishment types cannot stand this sort of fresh new blood in the GOP. There's no passion. There's no conviction. There's no intensity. And my gosh, this should be a time where these guys are on fire with pushing back against the liberal Democrat agenda.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekday mornings at 6, right before Dennis Prager at 9, on Intelligent Talk 960, The Patriot.
This is Shane Krauser, the chief instructor of K-Force Vanguard, a firearms training academy in the Phoenix area. Visit us at kforcevanguard.com or call us at 480-516-7793 for all of your firearms training. All of our instructors are active duty police officers and detectives, U.S. military personnel, defense attorneys, and former prosecutors. We bring real-world reality to all of our training that you will not experience anywhere else. Indeed, we live what we teach, from the battlefield to the streets to the courtrooms. Whether you're looking to obtain your concealed carry permit, become more proficient with your weapon of choice, simulated confrontation, or take up advanced tactical training, you've come to the right place. We have trained individuals who have never fired a gun, children, expert marksmen, law enforcement, and active military. Come train with instructors who live what they teach. Give us a call at 480-516-7793 or visit us at kforcevanguard.com. That's kforcevanguard.com. When you are faced with legal challenges, you want competent, aggressive representation. You want attorneys who understand the system and will advocate for you. Hi, this is Shane Krauser, partner with the law firm of Davis, Miles, McGuire, Gardner. With over 60 highly skilled attorneys and litigators, Davis Miles provides a broad spectrum of legal services. Whether you've been charged with a crime, are filing bankruptcy, involved in a divorce, injured in an accident, or need assistance with estate planning, we have attorneys who specialize in these areas and many others. We are here to assist you through what can be a very uncertain time or through a time where you're looking to secure your future. Our clients include individuals, growing businesses, and Fortune 500 companies, and our attorneys have decades of combined experience in fighting for and defending their clients. At Davis Miles, you and your concerns always come first. Give us a call at 480-344-4999. That's 480-344-4999. Smart, competent, effective representation. Again, that's 480-344-4999.
In times of joy, in moments of grief, we are there. When the world looks for truth, broadcasters come through, even when all else fails. Today, with more ways than ever to experience the moments that transform our lives, Americans still choose broadcast radio and television more than all other media combined. And our web and social sites are among the most visited sites in our daily lives.
Once I bring you the video, do not go outdoors here in Ocean City right now.
When important moments happen, both big and small, we're the first informers to history. We are the local broadcasters of radio and television, reaching more people, touching more lives. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
If you're looking for the latest videos, audio, and articles from the top political minds from around the country, like Jonah Goldberg, Thomas Sowell, Michelle Malkin, and many more, then The Patriot has you covered. Just log on to 960thepatriot.com today. Looking to know what's up on the Dennis Prager Show? Like 960 The Patriot on Facebook for daily show updates. Where the Constitution lives. 960 The Patriot.
Do you know who this song is by?
No, I don't.
This is Matt Bachrach. Oh. Matt Bachrach was killed 5 years ago in a car accident coming back from L.A. He was in Hollywood. Great friend of mine. I know you know him, Jeff.
I do, yeah.
Phenomenal. He wrote this music, and every time I hear this, I think of him and just the great talent. And it relaxes me a little bit. Matt Bachrach was a great American. Folks, this segment of the program is brought to you by our friends, Master Creations Coin and Jewelry. Not only are they known for their precious metals and coin investing, they're also known for their fine custom jewelry, owned and operated by the great Patriots down in Ahwatukee, David and Carol Wyatt. Dave can design any fine jewelry piece for you, and everything is manufactured in-house. They love their country. They love their community. In fact, 10% of all the purchases that you make by way of jewelry go straight back to your favorite charity or school. Go take a visit. MasterCreationsJewelry.com. That's MasterCreationsJewelry.com. Honest, fair, and reputable. And tell them Shane Krauser, the Constitution Samurai, sent you. You've got to tell them this when you go down. Great, folks. We're going to have a contest, by the way.
Not yet.
We're not yet. We're not going to
stand by. It's coming.
Yeah, because here's the question. If you were to sit around with just your average American, and you're sit down and say, separation of powers, they'd say, what's that? Division of authority. Who cares? Constitution. Old, dead white men. Popular sovereignty. I get excited about this. Popular sovereignty. Just a fancy word. Freedom. Their response, I'm fine. I ain't got no complaints. I mean, that's the sort of culture we live in. And now we talk about the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, could you guys cite the Pledge of Allegiance? Could you recite? You could do this?
Absolutely.
I don't know about this.
Definitely.
No, I believe you could. But I have to play this clip. This was on Jimmy Kimmel this last week. It was sort of man on the street. These folks were asked to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. This is nuts. I mean, don't you think that the average American could recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
You would hope.
I question the people he talked to, and does he edit that
Well,
and only
all right.
bring out the people that couldn't?
All right. There's a Hollywood component. There is a Hollywood component. But it does not surprise me that he got some of the responses that he got. My belief is that still most could probably recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I could be wrong. But take a listen to this. This is unbelievable. Go ahead and roll that clip, Jeff.
Recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America. That's as far as I could go. Recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. How do it? Say, can you see?
Pledge allegiance to God under United States of America.
I pledge to the flag for justice for all. I still. All right, we're gonna have to cut that. I pledge to the flag of the United States of America.
For which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible.
Indivisible.
Independence.
Indivisible? Is that the word? All right. Okay. I think we're still need to work on it some more. I'm pretty sure.
Recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, with indivisibility and liberty and justice for all.
Did he say with invisibility?
What planet were these people on?
With indivisibility. Say, can you see? And I love the guy. Oh, you got to cut that one out. Let me give it another shot. Are you serious? Wow. That's just nuts. But why is this?
Beam me up, Scotty. No intelligent life forms here.
I mean, let's just assume that there is some of this going on. And there is. I mean, we know that there are very few Americans that truly understand the parameters of the Constitution. So watching it play out in terms of being able to recite the pledge doesn't really... It disturbs me, but it
doesn't surprise you.
It absolutely doesn't surprise me. And why is it? Is it because they don't care? I don't think it's not necessarily that they don't care. My experience in the public schools, from elementary all the way on to the college campuses where I've taught, it tells me that they simply haven't been exposed to it. Right? When you're exposed to something, you tend to remember it. And if you've got individuals that truly don't remember the pledge, that's pathetic. Let's do the contest.
All right. You ready for this?
I don't know. Do you think we'll get any callers for this? We're going to see if we get any callers for this. 602. Are we going to give them the number?
Okay, go for it.
602-508-0960, 602-508-0960, American Eagle, 1 ounce silver coin, if they can do what it is you're asking. Let's hear it. Yeah.
If nobody calls, I'll recite it.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure within our listener base, we'll find somebody who can. Okay, so here we go. The first caller who can call us and correctly recite the Pledge of Allegiance on air, live, okay, will receive that coin. So you're going to have to stay on the phone and recite that. And then once you do, stay on the phone because Ashley's going to need your information.
Why do I feel so ashamed?
Don't be ashamed.
I have to be ashamed.
It'll work out just fine.
Somebody calls up and screws it up. We're like,
no,
you screwed that up.
You got to have some faith. These are, come on.
And to the democracy for which it stands. No, it's to the republic.
No.
Instead
we've got some solid
indivisible, they say
listening to
invincibility.
I'm surprised they didn't say invisible.
So here we go. We're going to have this contest. The first person to call in, 602-508-0960. That's 602-508-0960. Recite the Pledge of Allegiance. We're sending you that 1 ounce American Eagle silver coin, courtesy of Master Creations Coin and Jewelry. Holy cow! They lit up. I hope it doesn't take us the next 35 minutes on air.
No, it's going to be a piece of cake, bro.
Okay, let's go right to it. Line one. Line 1, you are live on air with Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser. Let's hear it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Outstanding.
She didn't say invincibility.
I
Wow. Who is this?
My name is Petra.
Petra, thank you so much for calling in. Do you love America?
I do.
Do you? Very good.
Absolutely.
Well, very good. Thank you so much for listening to Liberty Storm. I want you to hold on. We're going to send you that 1-ounce American Eagle silver coin, courtesy of Master Creations Corn and Joy. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
We got it on the first time.
Perfect.
First time.
I knew. I had faith. I knew it was going to happen.
Wow. But if I were to play a song like Happy Days, you would recognize it immediately.
And so would most everybody.
And this is precisely my point. If you want to change the culture, you better move this message in such a way that it becomes a part of the culture. Separation of powers, limited government, division of authority, those things have to become a part of this culture if we want to change things. We'll be right back, folks. You're listening to Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on 960 The Patriot. It is a great day in the USA. Stay tuned. You're going to love this next segment where we talk a little bit about limited government. This is Shane Krauser, the director of the American Academy for Constitutional Education, with your Unconstitutional Minute. The current administration is caught in a web of irresponsible spending, promoting ideas that are not consistent with our country's foundation, and an ongoing disregard of our Constitution. The IRS targets individuals and organizations based on their speech. The NSA gathers the phone records of law-abiding Americans. The Attorney General attacks those who have a right to convey their ideas through the media. The President makes laws and disregards others for political gain. Congress allowed over 250 bureaucracies to create more than 6,100 regulations in 2012 alone. The government gives $250 billion to Egypt while we are nearly $17 trillion in debt. The government gives the people's money to GM, AIG, and Solyndra because they are too big to fail. Time to fix this unconstitutional train wreck. What will you do? For more talk on the issues that matter, tune into Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on Saturday evenings at 5 or go to libertystormradio.com.
Hello, my name is Bill Bish. I'm the project director for Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser. I want to tell you about a book that has absolutely changed my life and the lives of many people I know. It was just released, and you need to get your hands on it today. It's called Your Nation to Save, and it's a line-by-line explanation of the U.S. Constitution, written in plain English that anyone can understand. And it is arguably the most important book of this century. Go to aafce.com and check it out right away. By reading this book, you'll understand the Constitution in ways that most Americans and politicians fail to understand. This book's author, Shane Krauser, is an adjunct professor of constitutional law and an attorney in Arizona. As Shane so often says, the Constitution is not the problem. It is emphatically the answer. This exciting and informative book is only $15 plus shipping and handling. Your Nation to Save can be yours now by going to aafce.com. That's AAF as in freedom, CE.com.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
It takes two of us to deliver a very important message about this radio station, 960 The Patriot. Hi, it's Hugh Hewitt.
And this is Dennis Prager. You've heard me talk about the American Trinity, E pluribus unum, and God we trust and liberty, the three things that set the United States apart.
It's a powerful idea, Dennis, and this radio station is a place where powerful ideas and principles thrive every day. We never forget that faith and freedom are part of what make our country exceptional.
There are some people in high places who apologize for America. That's something this radio station will never do.
When you listen to 960 The Patriot, we promise not to insult your intelligence and to speak the truth.
And we'll prefer clarity over agreement.
Right. This is what our radio station is all about. And as long as you're there to listen to us, we'll be here for you. Please tell your friends about it.
And absolutely tell our sponsors that you appreciate their support for this radio station, Intelligent Talk 960, The Patriot.
I'm just trying to be a father, raise a daughter and a son.
This?
Be
Who is
a
this?
lover to their
Who is it
mother.
that sings this?
I can see I'm going to have to do my studying on this music here, so I don't
I
know.
love
I'm
this.
sorry. I love the song, and as soon as I hear the name, I'll remember the artist, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Is that Toby Keith?
It's Toby Keith. This is Toby Keith. Love Toby Keith. Love America. Folks, we have to change the culture. You can talk about all the solutions in the world that you want, but if you truly want long-term change, the only way that you're going to see that is by changing the culture. This began 100 years ago. I mean, think about what it is we're experiencing today. With Woodrow Wilson standing up in front of a group of people back in the early 1900s, he could have never sold his argument the way that we're experiencing. And the reason why we're experiencing the things we are today is because they infiltrated the culture in the right areas, the schools, the media. Right? What a person hears over and over and over again, oftentimes they embrace. As a culture, they embrace it.
It absolutely influences the direction that they take in their life. Absolutely.
So we've got to start talking and articulating the message in a way that is relevant to the culture. So when we talk about separation of powers, what is it that we mean, and why do we advocate and embrace this idea of separation of powers or division of authority? Or this idea of popular sovereignty, power in the people. Why is that such a precious thing? We need to articulate that.
It's because power corrupts, and as the man said, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
So this brings up the question. And really the time has come for Americans who believe that government at all levels is too large to select their weapon of choice. We've got to decide what it is that we're going to do. If it is checkers, if we decide that we're going to play a political game of checkers, we will lose. If it's full-blown jiu-jitsu, we stand a chance of multifaceted attack against the powers that be and bringing in individuals that understand why power must be limited and why freedom is something to be cherished and preserved. Then we stand a chance. But we have to understand the tactic. And so there's this ongoing debate going on right now in political circles about where conservatives should focus their efforts. And I'm interested in your thoughts. And the phone lines are open, 602-508-0960, 602-508-0960. There is one camp out there that argues that there is no hope for the federal government. It is simply too big, too bloated, it's bastardized. It's too out of touch with the people, and nothing can repair its rogue habits. As a result, we should focus on government at the state level where the power of the sovereign that indeed created the federal government can assert its authority. And then, of course, there are those on the other side that say, well, wait a second, the state governments are toothless. They don't stand a chance. While they are in theory closer to the people, they don't stand a chance to fix the real problems America is being dealt because the power and influence of the federal government is simply too much for the state governments to gain any real headway. And so there's this debate going back and forth. Where do we focus our efforts? National or federal government? Is it at the state level? Is it at the local level? Ross made a case earlier, said we got to focus at the state level. Understand the argument. We have to be focusing at the state level. But what I'm interested to know is what you think about perhaps leaving one area and saying, you know what, we're just going to focus on state. We're just going to focus on local government because federal government, there's no reining them in. But what are your thoughts on this? Where do we focus here?
I would say that it must be a focus on all levels. We can't neglect the one. they're all, unfortunately, interdependent, and we have to be able to focus on all.
So you said we should be focusing on all levels. Don't let the federal government continue to do what it's doing, and simply focus at the state level.
Right. It's a runaway train. If you allow that runaway train to continue, it's just going to continue to gain momentum to the point to where it doesn't matter what the states do, they're going to lose control.
What are your thoughts?
I think one of the most important things that's going on right now, Shane, is what you're doing with the American Academy for Constitutional Education. And if we get more people educated as to exactly what the Constitution says and what it is and what it does, the more people will understand. They'll vote for the people that will help return us to that Constitution.
Everyone within the sound of my voice, if you're in a car, turn your radio up. If you're at home, turn it up. If you're listening to iHeartRadio, turn it up. Because I'm about to tell you what the problem is and how we begin to fix the problem. Here it is. Ignorance and freedom cannot coexist. Until we educate the people as to the proper role of government, until we educate the people as to what good government looks like, you will not even begin to put a dent in this problem in America. Until you educate your children, until you educate yourselves, and until you mandate that others around you be educated, we will not put a dent in this problem. Say what you will. We're going to talk more about that when we come back. You're listening to Liberty Storm. I'm Shane Krauser. We're 960 The Patriot. We'll be right back.
When you want to talk Arizona politics and culture, you want to talk to people that matter.
Byron York, he is the chief political correspondent of the Washington Examiner.
When people start receiving money, then repealing Obamacare is no longer kind of an abstract question about a law that's not in effect yet. It's going to be stopping payments to people for the purchase of health insurance. So, as you know, that's going to be an incredibly difficult thing to do.
Arizona Politics and Culture with Seth Leibson and Tom Brown, Sundays from 6 to 8 p.m.
This is Shane Krauser, the director of the American Academy for Constitutional Education, with your Unconstitutional Minute. The American experiment is an experiment that is unmatched and unparalleled. Think about this. Brazil has had 8 constitutions since 1822. Russia, 4 since 1917. Afghanistan, 5 in the 20th century alone. Poland, 7 since 1923, and France has had 15 since R1. Our Constitution is the oldest Constitution in the world and is under attack from all sides. The government gives our money away to other nations without reservation, attacks our right to privacy in the name of public safety, hinders our speech to mask their incompetency, and attacks religion in the name of freedom. This unconstitutional runaway train must come to a grinding halt. Of course, we can only do so if we first recognize the exceptionalism of the American experiment. For more talk on the issues that matter, tune into Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on Saturday evenings at 5 or go to libertystormradio.com.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. Pope Francis surprised reporters recently when he offered a casual question and answer session on his flight from Brazil back to Rome. The biggest headline came from his comment on homosexuals in the priesthood. His key sentence was this: if a person is gay and seeks the Lord and has goodwill, who am I to judge that person? The international press went into a frenzy. Headlines announced a revolution in Roman Catholic moral teaching. But a closer look reveals a far less revolutionary reality. Pope Francis did not change or modify one sentence of Catholic moral teaching. At Time magazine, Tim Paget asserted rightly enough that the Pope's position comes down to this: the Church may love the sinner, but it still hates the sin. Don't expect that to be good enough for the new moral regime. I'm Albert Mohler.
If your debt has you down, we should talk. Call nonprofit Trinity Debt Management today at 800-936-5348 or go to mydebthasmedown.com.
Visit townhall.com today.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. Pope Francis surprised reporters recently when he offered a casual question and answer session on his flight from Brazil back to Rome. The biggest headline came from his comment on homosexuals in the priesthood. His key sentence was this: if a person is gay and seeks the Lord and has goodwill, who am I to judge that person? The international press went into a frenzy. Headlines announced a revolution in Roman Catholic moral teaching. But a closer look reveals a far less revolutionary reality. Pope Francis did not change or modify one sentence of Catholic moral teaching. At Time magazine, Tim Paget asserted rightly enough that the Pope's position comes down to this: the Church may love the sinner, but it still hates the sin. Don't expect that to be good enough for the new moral regime. I'm Albert Mohler.
If your debt has you down, we should talk. Call nonprofit Trinity Debt Management today at 800-936-5348 or go to mydebthasmedown.com.
Visit townhall.com today.
If you're looking for the latest videos, audio, and articles from the top political minds from around the country, like Jonah Goldberg, Thomas Sowell, Michelle Malkin, and many more, then The Patriot has you covered. Just log on to 960thepatriot.com today. This nation will remain the land of the free, only so long as it is the home of the brave. 960, The Patriot. 960, The Patriot.
We're calling America, help ease the pain.
All right, we're back, folks. Just a great show tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. You know about this Constitution Week coming up. If you don't, you need to. September 17th through September 23rd, the largest Constitution celebration in America takes place right here in the Phoenix metropolitan area, Gilbert, Arizona. We're expecting over 15,000 people this year, and of course, I'm excited. I'm the master of ceremonies, and there's going to be some fire. I'm not just talking about getting people fired up. There's going to be some fire.
There's always fire with
absolutely. September 21st, that's a Saturday night, 6 o'clock until 9:30. There's going to be fireworks, the whole 9 yards. Get out there, get involved, bring your families, bring your neighbors, your coworkers, acquaintances. Let them know. Let's bring people together and celebrate what truly makes this country different. Again, you can go to ConstitutionWeekUSA.com. That's ConstitutionWeekUSA.com. Saturday, September 21st. Of course, 2 days prior, I'm ecstatic about this event. First time we've done this as a part of Constitution Week. September 19th, it's a Thursday night from 7 to 10 p.m. Tickets go on sale this week. One Nation Under God is what we're calling this. One Nation Under God. We're bringing in leaders from all over, ecclesiastical leaders from all over the country to share the stage with one another, not to talk about ideological differences, but to talk about common ground found in freedom. We've got C.L. Bryant coming into the house. You know, Arizona's been trying to get C.L. Bryant for a long time. We got him. He's coming. C.L. Bryant, Sammy Rodriguez. You never heard Sammy Rodriguez. You're going to listen to him talk, and you're going to wish that he had the entire 3 hours. He is just phenomenal. He gets the problems. He provides real solutions, and he is just fascinating to listen to. He'll be coming in from California. Chad Hovind coming in from Ohio. Pastor John Gunn's coming in from Florida. We've got Elder LeSueur coming in. He's a member of the Quorum of the 70 from the LDS Church, is going to be there. We've got Rabbi Micah Kaplan of the Jewish congregation right here in the Phoenix area. This is going to be awesome. If you want more information, you can go to ConstitutionWeekUSA.com. That's ConstitutionWeekUSA.com. Or you can visit us at the site of the American Academy, AAF is in Freedom, CE.com. That's AAFCE.com. We have lots of great stuff coming up. I wish we had more time to talk about all the events, but if you go to AAFCE.com, you'll see numerous events that we have coming up all over the country. Of course, I'm really excited about the appearance that we're going to be making with Glenn Beck out at Covenant America in Branson, Missouri, September 13th through the 15th. That's going to be a phenomenal event as well. Go to covenantamerica.us. covenantamerica.us. That is going to be just a great event where we're focusing on the Declaration of Independence. That's the entire focus. So I want to, we in light of our discussion that we were having, where should we focus? National, state, local? Where should we go? We've got a caller on line 1 who wants to address that specific issue. Cliff, you are live on air. Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser. What's on your mind?
Hi, Shane. This is Cliff. Well, in my opinion, we need to start at all of the school board elections, get them to be more conservative so we can actually get some control of what our kids are learning, and get you into some of these schools. And then we should get somebody that is a little bit more locally focused than what Andrew Thomas is the head of education. We don't need things like Common Core.
Are you talking about Huppenthal?
Yeah, Huppenthal, I'm sorry.
Yes.
We don't need things like Common Core for the government and other businesses to tell us how to educate our kids. We are very capable of educating our own children.
Absolutely. And I think that's when you're talking about at the local level, I would not disagree with you at all, Cliff. We have to execute at the local level. But you made a very good point as you just made your case. We have a lot of people. We have a lot of people who want to be involved here, and there's no excuse why we cannot focus at all levels at the same time. But you're right. We've got to mobilize people at that local level. We've got to do something about these school boards. We've got to address the curriculum that is being taught to our young people. I mean, when I have my child come home who goes to a public school and I ask him, where do our rights come from, just in a casual conversation, and he tells me in no uncertain terms that the general vibe in the public schools is that rights come from government, I am deeply disturbed by that. And that's from the school board on down. And it's from a largely uneducated populace, many of whom are becoming our teachers. And they in turn, the vicious cycle continues as they enter the classroom to teach our children. You're exactly right, Cliff.
And if we can't get our children at a very young age to understand what our history is in this country, that this history, that our country is a Christian nation, and that our rights come from God, and the Constitution is based on the Bible, and so forth and so on, and get the correct history in place, as you stated at the beginning of the show. You know, if Patrick Henry doesn't know where he came from, he won't know where he's going. And our kids no longer know where they came from. We're not teaching them that.
Cliff, you're exactly right. No concept of history. Thank you so much, Cliff, for all that you do. Thank you for calling, and we have to address this issue at all levels. I mean, when we talk about federal government, runaway train. We talk about state governments, we say toothless. When you read Federalist Papers number 33 and number 64, that tells us very clearly how we address this problem. When the government disregards the Constitution, when it engages in this runaway train sort of mentality, it is upon the people to remedy the situation. Quit blaming the government for the problems. The government is a symptom of the problem. We are the problem. And Federalists 33 and 64 make that very clear. When there is a problem, we are the ultimate arbiters of this Constitution. And so I believe that we've got to focus at all levels, federal, state, county, and city at the same time simultaneously.
I'm completely with you, Shane. And you made a good point just a minute ago. There are many of us. There are so many of us that are like-minded at this point. We need to now stand up and play our role. We are a diverse group of people with a common belief, and we have our place. We need to stand up and claim our place.
Absolutely. We must stand up and recognize that when we talk about popular sovereignty, we're talking about we the people.
Absolutely.
I mean, when Benjamin Franklin came out of the convention in September of 1787 and was asked by the lady, what kind of government have you given us? And he said, a republic, man, if you can keep it. A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it. And not a republic, ma'am, if your state legislator can keep it. A republic, ma'am, if your congressman can keep it.
It starts with the individual.
It starts with we, the people. Us as individuals must understand what it means to maintain a republic. We've got to stop playing checkers. We've got to engage in a full-blown match of jiu-jitsu where we utilize the resources. For us to believe that we don't have the numbers to address every single level of government is simply a falsehood. Yep. We have the numbers.
Yes, we do.
What we're really saying when we say we should only focus on local government and local government alone is this. We don't have the organizational structure in place to address government at all levels. That's a leadership issue. It's not a numbers issue. And why would we dare leave any arena undefended without lining up our soldiers? In other words, why would we leave the federal government unguarded and simply say, oh, we're just going to focus on the states and local government alone. The federal government's too bad. Why would we not continue to initiate an assault on the federal government or what's going on at the federal level? We've got to get the right candidates to run for office at the congressional level. We've got to get the right people to run for office as president to take in on that executive position, who in turn is going to do what? Appoint justices at the U.S. Supreme Court and all the various courts at the federal level. Why would we do such a thing? I mean, I would say it's akin to trying to help the injured ringmaster while the elephant continues to stomp on your head. Yeah, I'm going to help the ringmaster, which in this case is freedom, and yet the big bad elephant at the federal level continues to stomp on your head as you continue to try and remedy the problem. It's absurd.
Well, here's what I got to say. Again, it begins with the individual. There's a lot of talk about we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. But let's start with me. What am I going to do? Let's stand up. Let's figure out what our role is. Let's assume that role, and other people will follow. It's like the classroom, where all the kids have the same question, but they're afraid to ask the teacher. All it takes is just one kid to raise their hand, ask that question, and all the others will start raising their hand as well because they have that question. They're just afraid to do it. We need the one person to stand up, take their role, and others will follow.
You know, I start constitutional law this week on Thursday night at the college. And you know what one of my first questions is going to be on that night, right?
I do.
Yeah, you do. What is more important, public safety or individual liberty? I acknowledge as the questioner that is a false choice because our Constitution sets forth parameters that allows for a society to be secure and at the same time free. If you follow the Constitution, the letter and the spirit, you can be free and have security at the same time. It is a false choice, but nevertheless, what is our default position? What is your default position? As a society, we have defaulted to public safety and said, even if it means running over the liberties of the people, I'll take it. It's absurd, and Benjamin Franklin said it well. He that would give up his liberty for security deserves neither. And yet here we are as a society, from the New York mayor Bloomberg to the governor of New York saying, you know what, I'll give up a little of my liberty. And then you've even got Lindsey Graham. Mm-hmm. Senator Lindsey, I have nothing to hide, Graham.
Well, and then John McCain just recently here on a local radio station as well made the same mention. He's like, I don't care if they listen to my phone calls. They're going to find that our conversations are rather boring.
See, sure, maybe so. And they would probably find most of my conversations rather boring, and yours boring, and Bill, yours pretty boring as well. But the fact of the matter is they don't understand the essence of what it means to maintain privacy. I would like to ask the question in an open forum to Senator McCain. Will you remove the curtains from your windows? Will you remove the curtains from your windows? Well, why not? Why wouldn't you, Senator McCain? Because you do care about privacy. But here you want to pick and choose what it is you want to protect and what it is you don't want to protect. The idea behind privacy, as it correlates with freedom, is the ability to control information. You don't want to remove your curtains because you want to control information. Most of my phone calls are probably pretty innocuous. But you know what? You don't have a right to know who I call, how long I'm talking to that person, and the substance of that phone call. You just don't have a right. You don't.
Nope.
That's it. I'm fired up, man. Fired up. I tell you, I've mentioned this before. We're talking about where we focus. You know, perhaps it is a lack of organization. Perhaps that's the issue. I believe that it is. That would tell us that we should engage in a unilateral attack on this runaway train. That is, what level of government will we choose? We have to have an organizational structure that will empower, educate, and lead. And we can maim this assault on freedom. We need a rapid-fire approach. A rapid-fire approach. After all, we are not living in a time where we can be casual in our approach, where light and transient abuses are being perpetrated by the government. That's not happening in 2013. We're not dealing with light and transient abuses. It's worse than that, folks. We are on the verge of having to explain, as Ronald Reagan said and warned us about, what it was that was more precious than freedom. Are you ready to offer up that explanation to the future? I'm not. You're not. Stand up and be counted. Defend freedom on all fronts. Empower, educate, lead. Be courageous, involved, and informed, folks. This is our nation to save. We must link arms together. The past deserves nothing less. The future deserves nothing less as well. We have an obligation. We allowed this problem to be created. Now let's fix it, folks. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you.
That usually is a big advantage for children everywhere, including this greatest nation on
This
God's
was a
green
paid
earth.
program and was provided for informational purposes only.
Do you have a family member who's getting older and can no longer be safely left alone? Visiting Angels, America's choice in senior home care, assists